Hello and welcome to Fallawsophy. I'm your host, Jennifer Fallaw-Doring, and my philosophy is to believe in infinite possibilities. So, by request, tonight I am doing the show on what is on the planet Mars. And I was asked by viewers to do my thing and use interdimensional meditation to go in, and easiest way to explain it is a remote view. What is on the surface of Mars in this dimension in this time period right now? And it's very important when you're doing something like this to know what reality, what dimension, what time period we're looking at. And so right now is what we're looking at right here where we are. And I did a series of 3 different meditations this week to prepare for this show. I was quite surprised at what I found. I thought I was going to get there and I thought I was going to see, a red planet, very desolate with some ruins on it. And that is not what happened. So before I get into this, interdimensional meditation is a projection of consciousness. So basically, I project my consciousness in meditation to go and meet with the archangels because they're my team. I meet with the good guys, so I'm safe. And for this certain meditation, I have a process that I call the viewing room. And it's where I go project my consciousness to the 6th level of heaven, meet with the archangels. There's a house there, and in the house there is many rooms. One of the rooms is called the viewing room. And when you go in the room, it looks like a big rectangular room, and one wall is looks like a big TV screen. There's a few chairs facing it, and then along the back wall, there is like padded couch benches that I sit on, and you try to stay there when you're in situations where you would view something or project your consciousness somewhere that there may be a multidimensional entity that could see you and follow you home. And so I don't want that. And so I decided to do it this way. Typically, the viewing room has been used in the past by me to walk back through memories and retrieve information from possibly another view, another person's perspective, something that I missed, something I'm trying to remember, emotional healing. But lately, I've been using it to go down underneath the surface of the earth and see what's in there in specific locations. And for this show, what's on the surface of Mars? I've never really been into the whole, studying aliens, and I've just always known they're out there. It just makes sense. It's always made sense to me. I saw some UFOs when I was a kid. My dad was very matter of fact about it. And this is what we're doing now. I guess most of what I do is to help other people, with healings and readings and closure and information. But I have been asked on occasion to project with this is how I do it. It's easy just to call it remote viewing because people go, oh, okay, remote viewing. But it's a very natural thing for me. It's very easy just to go there and take a look as long as I have a destination, possible time period. And you will see in the first meditation that I did it wrong. Okay. I was supposed to just sit there and watch. And it's very difficult to do when you're used to just going wherever you want to go and see what's there. It's there's a fine line. So you'll see that I kind of messed that up, but it turned out okay. So in the first meditation, I met Archangel Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, Uriel. Always usually work with those four, and then there's others that come along on certain occasions. And Chamuel was there. Gabriella, which is like Gabriel's twin, his female half. That kind of explains why some people see the male aspect of archangels and some see the female aspect. So we all met in a courtyard outside of the house. And it's funny because every time I do that, we all meet out there, and there's always quite a few archangels there. And it's for my protection. I understand that. And I told them what I wanted to do. And I usually take Gabriel's hand, and we walk down this long hallway. It starts from outside. Walk down this long hallway, and then to the right, there's a door at the end of the hallway. And we all went into the viewing room. And I have been told before, I don't always listen because you get caught up in things, and you forget. So, but I've been told just to sit down, and I'm supposed to hold Michael's hand and Gabriel's hand. And I'm like, originally when they told me that, I thought, why is this going to be emotional? I mean, and it's to keep me there, keep me in the room, in that dimension, viewing another one. So I came from this dimension. I'm going to the 6th level of heaven, which is a different dimension, and I'm viewing back to this dimension in a different location. So it's kind of confusing. But the gist of the thing is you're supposed to just sit there and watch it on the screen. Your mind controls the screen and the movement of what you're viewing. The archangels can see it, and they're basically sitting around making sure I don't put myself in a dangerous situation. And then Michael and Gabriel are sitting next to me, and I ask them questions about what I'm seeing. So it's interesting because there's a couple chairs in front of the screen on the floor, and Uriel's always sitting here. Really haven't noticed who's sitting over here. But most of the time, Uriel is in my view, watching. And then, Gabriel and Michael are next to me. So this time, I'm like, I didn't sit down. I stood up because I think on that particular day I was pretty go kind of day. And I'm like, okay, I got to meditate, got to do this for the show, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, let's do it. And like, that was dumb. That was stupid. But I think they allowed it to happen to teach me how to use, what can happen if you don't do it right. So this is how it looks. So on the screen, I said, so basically I wanted a destination. I said, show me what's on Mars. And they chose what to show me. So on the screen, it's like, the way I explain this, we're viewing it all on the screen. So what I see is that we're traveling across reddish dirt. It's not red. It looked like Arizona, if you've been to Arizona. The dirt's got a lot of clay in it. It's got a lot of copper, whatever makes it that color. But it wasn't really that red. It was noticeable, but not too much. And so I look up ahead and I see the circle of jagged rock formations coming up. And it looked like it was like you see the rock formations in Arizona where they jut up and they're kind of jagged. But it was interesting because it was almost like a crown that went around in a circle. And then, our view is up and down into this, and I see there's this crater. It's a big crater. And then the view is of standing in a city that looked like New York, if everything, like that kind of city, big, tall buildings, everything looked either white or reflective. It didn't look like chrome, but it looked like it was either aluminum or white. I'm thinking it was white. And I was actually on a street, and I thought, why would there be streets? And I look up and I see this big white building, and there's this like big, huge TV screen like there would be in New York with, and there was something flashing on it, like an advertisement of some kind or something. And so we're kind of like going around, and it just looked like very clean. I didn't see a lot of entities yet. But while I was there, they were telling me things, and I found out that there are humans there from all over the globe. And so there was this building over here. And let me do this in order here so I don't mess up. Okay. So we went and saw. I kind of zoomed out to the landscape. And I saw over here that there was like barracks, like long buildings that I was told that people live in. Humans live in there. And then we zoomed out, and I'm like, so like, is there any vegetation or anything? So we zoom out past the city, and there's like these fields that almost look like succulents. Didn't see any pools of water. I didn't see anything like that. And I was told, I'm like, how can they have this if it's so dry? And I was told that they pump the water up from underground. Then I saw a field of sheep. Kid you not. I saw a field of sheep, and I'm like, oh wow, they have sheep. Yeah, there's humans here. They must eat. So there's sheep. So there was the atmosphere is completely fine for humans and animals and everything. We weren't in a domed city. I don't think anything we've heard about Mars is true. And then I was told did they have cows? I'm asking the archangels, no cows. Like, really? Why wouldn't they have cows? So for some reason, cows don't do well there. I don't know why. But they have chickens. They have chickens. It's chickens and sheep. So then we're back in the city, and there's this building. And it's funny because it kind of looked like it was like modern. But then some of the buildings kind of reminded me of like Washington, D.C., where you have a little more detail on the buildings. They're kind of like stone buildings, all these windows. And there was this one building, and I kind of, this is where I screwed up. So, first of all, what I found out is that this place is an intergalactic space station. It has buildings and streets, and there's humans there as well. The humans have been there or been going there for 300 years. 300 years. Humans from all over the globe. It's called Strategic Command. And I'll get back to this in a second. So I zoom in to this window because what it looked like was an office building. And I see like someone at a desk, someone else over there, and then somebody standing next to the person in the desk. And I noticed that the person standing next to the person in the desk was very tall, dressed in like a dark colored shirt and pants, kind of shiny, with like a long white jacket, like all the way to the ground. But it was open in the front so you could see the shirt and the pants, okay? And he had white and blonde hair. And I'm like, who is that? What is that? And they said, he's an Arcturian. And I was like, I was kind of shocked by that because I wouldn't put that. See, here's my thing. I know people that get all involved with the Galactic Federation of Light, with the Arcturians and all this, and they think Jesus is on a ship somewhere and all this stuff. You know, not bashing what anybody believes. It's not entirely accurate. And I didn't think that they existed. I thought they were something that people made up and were probably kind of off on that. Now, I just want to say, before we get any more into the alien stuff and what I tell you about Earth and Mars, is that all of creation was created by God. There is one true dimension in the middle of everything, in the middle of the multiverse. So whether it's an alien, whether it's an animal, a human being, all life, plants, created by the Creator. So people that are, you know, this creation or evolution or, you know, seeded by aliens. Life did not start on Earth. That's a very small view of existence. It did not start there. So when I tell you these things, don't just assume, oh, you know, I knew it. It was aliens all along. You know, God doesn't exist. Neither do angels. Yes, they do. And yes, he does. So anyway, so I zoom in on this guy, okay, because I wanted a closer look, but I wasn't sitting down and I wasn't holding their hands. And so what happened next shocked me. So I zoom in, and because there's a fine line between watching on this screen and going there. So what I did is go there, pretty much, not all the way, but like almost. So this Arcturian, I'm watching it, and he looks up and he looks right at me, and he kind of smirks, and I went, crap, and I like pulled out. And back in the viewing room, I'm like, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And then all of a sudden, there he is, right to the screen, standing there in the room. The archangels take their swords and just go right in front of me. And I was like, I was about to tell him to leave. And then I went, wait a minute. And then it's funny because the archangels, I think they did that for my comfort. So that they don't think they would allow that to happen. Okay. This is all learning for Jen, okay? And because Uriel, who's sitting in the chair in front of the screen, doesn't seem bothered by it at all. He's just sitting there like, oh, look at that. You know, we've got an Arcturian in the room. So it was very interesting, first and foremost, that this entity who was incarnated and on in our dimension in full form saw me, probably projected his consciousness to see what I was doing and what I wanted. But he had the ability to do that. And this is something that I've always kind of known in the back of my mind. And that's why people say, well, why don't you go shooting off into the tunnels underground? And why don't you go out into the ocean where the all this is. And, I'm like, because someone will see me. And that's what I always say. I hadn't experienced it. But there you have it. And he was standing right there. And, oh my God, it was so weird. I've got more information. I'm going to come back to this, so we might be repeating some of that, but I want to tell you what he looked like. He looked like I explained with the blonde hair. The way he looked at me was interesting. It was highly entertaining to him. This was all highly entertaining. And he had this smirk on his face, and I did not feel like I was in danger. It was just the immediate shock that, wait, something's in the room and it's not an archangel. But I didn't feel like I was in any danger. I did feel infringed upon a little bit. So, just a little bit. So I was a little on guard, but not afraid. He was very tall. What's really interesting is he looked a lot like an archangel. He just wasn't as big. Like, they're not all really muscular. Like, Uriel's not really muscular. But his way, his energy, his vibration, not quite as high as the archangels, but close. It was close. And his skull, I'd say, not the long skull, okay, not the Anunnaki one, just a little bit bigger than average, okay? Did notice that, just a little bigger. I kind of want to say that he had something over his head. I'm not sure. And the way he looked at me was like, kind of how you watch like a toddler play or tell you a story and you'd be like, oh, isn't this precious? Isn't this cute? And like, that's kind of how he was looking at me. And he was talking and he says, see, he asked, why were you looking? And I said, people asked and they want to know. And so it was kind of short communication. It wasn't very wordy with him. It was almost like there was more information passed than there were words. I said, why do you have this settlement on Mars? He said, it's like a transportation department for the galaxy. Now, I don't know if he meant the solar system, but I heard galaxy. Regulating who comes and goes. And I said, who owns planet Earth? It was my next thought. And that was the question that came out. And he kind of hesitated because I think the question was not quite correct. But he said, the reptilians. And I was like, so disappointed by that. I said, why is this allowed? Why are they allowed? Why do the reptilians allow the humans and others to live there? And he said, commerce and to fulfill their needs. I'm like, perfect. And he saw that I was getting upset by that. And he said, the humans are in the process of taking back their planet. There is a global and interplanetary alliance, 2 alliances, helping the humans. And they will win. A new age is coming. And I was like, okay. Because what you told me before was not good. Okay. So I guess there's a global alliance that's good, that works with certain races of aliens. And there is an interplanetary alliance that takes care of like higher basic needs. So nobody blows up a planet, throws everything out of orbit. Certain races don't settle where they're not supposed to settle. Things like that. So let's go back to the other information that I got from the archangels while I was looking around. So the Arcturians work with the humans in this strategic command location. And it's on Mars because it cannot be closer to Earth because there's bad ETs on the Earth and the moon. For some reason, that's their spot that they're allowed to be. Because the reptilians got kicked out of Mars a long time ago. We'll go into that a little more later. They sell fuel there of all kinds. So it's almost like a truck stop. I mean, it's almost like a port of entry on Mars in that location. And I think that, the archangels chose my first destination because they probably figured I'd screw it up. And so they sent me to a safe place pretty much. And so they sell fuel of all kinds there, and they monitor the activity in the galaxy. It's like I want to say that solar system is more accurate, but what do I know? I mean, this is what I heard, so I'm just going to throw it out there. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Now, the UN knows about this place. They pretend that they are good to buy and sell fuel there of all kinds that are taken from the Earth. So, and they just gave two references, nuclear and methane, which didn't make any sense. Methane. I said, do you do gasoline? They said no. And it's for the ships that should land there for some reason. So whatever fuel they need, it's like a big truck stop. Whatever you need, you come there, you fuel up, you power up, whatever. You check in. So that's what's going on that specific location. And people actually live there. And I'm like, it didn't make any sense to me that 300 years could be humans there for 300 years back in the 1700s. I mean, but that is true. And I really feel like a lot of it's military personnel. They live in barracks. They don't have any helmets or spacesuits or anything like that. They're just walking around, like everything's cool. The temperature they said is usually about 68 degrees. And they pump water up from below the ground for this location. So all of the foliage and the succulents and everything is kind of outside of the metro area. I mean, this was an actual big city that I went to, but I only saw a small part of it. Now, gravity is stronger there, they said, a bit. And things weigh more. They do have clouds and weather, but the sky, when I looked up, a lot of things moving around in the sky. But when I looked up, it looked kind of like our sky, but it was just a bit more green. Looked green. And so basically it's like a good guy command post there. And I said, what is this city called? And he said it several times, and I spelt it the way it sounds, Uranica. Okay, I don't know if that's wrong. Uranica, Uranica. And it basically looks like a combination of a clean New York City or Washington, D.C. A sleeker look, a white to metal look. I mean, everything was pretty much the same color, except the streets. The streets were actually kind of gray. But I didn't see cars. So I don't know why they had, I don't know if they were walkways. I don't know. So then, let's see. So I had the talk with that Arcturian. And I really didn't believe that they existed before. It's like I told you, like, I feel like the Galactic Federation of Light may have started with communication from certain individuals with this race of ETs. But I think over time that it has been corrupted by everybody and their mother channeling stuff and wanting you to listen to it. I really feel like it's been corrupted. So I just never got into that. I listened to a video once and it made me feel like I was being hypnotized. And so the energy of a lot of the posts from that felt like deception, and it didn't feel like when I met this guy. This guy's energy is pretty close to divine. I mean, pretty darn close. So he was talking about the reptilians owning the Earth, but I really feel like they were probably cast out of Mars, and that was where they were. You can go over there, but you stay there. And so they pretty much have. But their numbers are small. And he says, basically, they only have infiltrated. It's like they were allowed to be on this planet, but over time, what they've done is infiltrated, our governments and everything else and taken control. He said no one owns the seas, the waters, and that the reptilians live at the bottom of the ocean. Not like swimming around, but, like in cities or ships or something. The reptilians cannot be in the sunlight for long. They will, I don't know, maybe that's where all like the vampire stories came from. Interesting how that pairs up. So they would have to wear some kind of human suit. They would probably, if they lived on land, they would probably want it to be in a colder climate or spend most of the time indoors, underground, in the ocean. The sunlight messes with them for some reason. I asked the Arcturian, why are the grays here? Because in a previous meditation show that you guys know about, I saw the grays down under the ground. And he says, they have been taken hostage long ago. And I said, by who? He said, the reptilian lords. So basically, you got the whites and the grays working together. I think they're pretty close to the same species. And the grays are like the little emotionless minions that do the work. They're like worker bees. Somewhere in my notes here, I'll probably find it later and repeat myself. But they basically pay a toll to be here on this planet and to collect the DNA and the samples that they need. I said, who do they pay a toll to? Oh, that's right. It's in the end. I'll say it again when we get there. Humans. This is the crap we're dealing with here. All right. So then I asked the guy, I said, what's your name? And he said it several times. And then I asked him, well, spell it if you were going to spell it in English. And he said, EUNISF. UNISF. UNISF or something like that. EUNISF. I said, what is your station? He said, High Command, Ambassador to the Humans. High Command, Ambassador to the Humans. And I said, last question. I said, does Trump know about the location, this location? He said, yes. I said, has he been here? He says, no. And then he left. So then, second meditation. Both of these meditations, I did experience lost time again. It seemed like I was doing it for 15, 20 minutes and close to an hour had gone by. Every time I use the viewing room, this happens. Have not figured that out yet. Well, I did get an explanation once, and the explanation is that when I am sitting in the sixth dimension, okay, the sixth level of heaven, it's kind of confusing, but when I'm sitting there, time is different there than it is where my body is. So when I project there, and I'm more focused there than here, my perception of time is that of there. So my perception is that it had only been 15, 20 minutes. And I get back and I wake up here. I'm sitting up, I'm awake. But when I open my eyes here, an hour's gone by. So I've started to set alarms, like if I have readings or something scheduled, so that I'm not in there for like 2 hours. Which is crazy because usually when I meditate, I can't sit still for more than half an hour. Okay, so second meditation, same thing. Went to the viewing room. I promised that I would sit down and I would hold their hands and I would stay there because I didn't know where they were going to take me and I didn't know what we were going to see next. So it was interesting. We did start outside in a dry looking climate again. And up ahead, I just see this triangle opening in the ground, like a mountain up ahead opening. The top of the opening, you could see was shiny, like a big, long piece of metal. And so we went in and we got inside that crevice, that cave-like structure. And when I got in there, we were viewing going in there, it looked like, let's say we were if you were watching this, you're an ant in a ventilation shaft. That's what it looked like. And way over here, there's a guy, a human, I assume, looked just like a human, wearing like a blue uniform with an actual hat on that had like yellow or something. Looked like a military guy. Riding one of those, almost like a golf cart kind of thing. Because one of those carts they ride around in the airports with. That's what it looked like. So he's riding along in front of us and we're following. The viewers were following him. Went for a very long time. I was starting to get bored. Very, very long time. And then we get to this opening. And it wasn't metal in the opening. It looked like a huge cave. Huge cave. And then I see this light. And then a couple more lights over here. And what I saw, God, I drew it. I wish I could show you guys what I draw. I can't even see it. Take pictures. See if you can see this. Yes, see that? Wait, it's all backwards. Hold on. So what I see is this huge tower. And on the top of the tower, there's a ball of light. And on either side, kind of around in a circle, there's 3 more towers. Could have been 4 more. And so we've got this straight pole, and then at the bottom, there's kind of supports that holds this thing up. And very, very bright. Very bright. And I said, what is this? They said, it's a power plant. And I said, what is that? what kind of power is that? And I said, it's very close now to the Tesla coil. And I said, really? I said, is this where Tesla got his idea had he been here? And they said Tesla's ideas were channeled. So they're not exact as this, but pretty close, like his representation of what, when you channel something, you get a certain amount of information. Sometimes there's some missing pieces. And so pretty close. So what I got is that this, and I don't know if there were other caves, but the basic idea is that there is like one location. This is wireless power. Okay. They said, where that is, they basically pull, the energy's pulled out of the rocks. That was interesting because of the previous show that I did on the pyramids in ancient Egypt, all that rock, and then the caps on it, the shining, and then the spaceship that had that big shining ball. Interesting. They say this is how they power Mars, like the whole planet. And the humans, I guess, there are certain humans that are running this coil or that maintain it because, I saw the human guy there. There was one coil that was bigger than the others. I do remember that. I don't know if that was my position or just my view, but that's what I saw. The reptilians, or the reptilians that have infiltrated our governments, will not allow this technology on, or when it came about, would not allow it here because it's free. That's why. So that has been suppressed along with many, many other things. So this somehow pulls energy from the rock there, and once the connection is made, it continues without stopping, unless you were to like blow one of the towers, or the major tower. I don't really have it all figured out. I just telling you what I saw. So then I said, okay, well, what else is on Mars? So then we're traveling across the land again. And it was, so we go down into this valley. And it looks like suburbia. Okay, I mean like rows. Like we would have track homes here with streets. And in the middle of this large community, there's another coil. So what it was, they showed me that next to explain to me that, okay, so you've got this basic area like the power plant. And then when you put in a community, there's a coil. And this energy, so the energy flows out from the original power plant area. And then this coil picks it up and then shoots it out for the whole area. So they have unlimited power. Trip out on this, okay, because now it's like some of this stuff I don't even know if I want to say because it sounds so crazy. Absolutely honest with you. I'm just going to tell you what I saw. So now I'm standing on a street again. Our view is that we're on a street. And these houses, they look kind of Scandinavian. So, with like pointy roofs, like, here, let me just do this. We had like your initial structure, and then you've got the roof, and then you got little windows like that. But this came all the way down. I'm drawing you a picture, and you got a door. This is really bad. But so if it kind of looks like this, okay, all these little houses, really cute. Like, and they had grass and everything. I mean, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Okay, so they're very pointy little houses. It was interesting. And so I'm standing there, and so I'm noticing the houses. I don't see a lot of flowers or anything like that, but it was just like there was the green color. I noticed that I'm on a street, and I see this thing come by, okay? And on the street, there's little, like almost along the street, ever so often, maybe every 6 to 10 feet, there's a little metal dot. So this metal ball, you know, it reminded me of, you know, in that one of the Jurassic Park movies, the kids, they got into this glass ball and they went riding through to look at all the dinosaurs, and then everything went to shit, and like they were stuck out there, and I just had like anxiety because like, oh my god, the children. But this is about the size of the thing, and it was just totally looked like an aluminum ball, just like that far off the ground, just down the street. And I'm like, okay, could have made that up, but that was pretty cool. And so then I'm like, so who lives here? I mean, what kind of entities live here? What kind of... So then I see this, really got a sense that it was female, come out of the house in front of me. Mostly human-like body. She was pink. Okay. Not like, you know, bubblegum pink or... Well, yeah, pretty close to bubblegum pink. I mean, she was pink. And, you know what reminded me of later on when I was telling my husband about it? He goes, oh, you mean like on Guardian of the Galaxies in the city where they had pink people? I'm like, yeah, but they were like really pink. I mean, this was just noticeably pink. And she had like pointy ears. Okay. Like that. Pretty sure I saw a tail. Could have been tripping at this point, but I'm pretty sure she was pink and she had pointy ears and a tail. So I started asking questions. I said, what does this alien call? What do they call themselves? And of course, you know, they say things and you try to put it into English and you try to, you know, hear it, but it sounded like waysayers. Waysayers. I'm not real sure on that. And then I started asking the archangels questions. So I'm like, well, we've really come and, you know, seen a lot of different kinds of aliens lately in the last couple of weeks with these meditations, you know. And they said there are 43 different races on Mars. Just like talking over me. There are 43 different races on Mars. I'm like, what? Shut? Really? Wow. And I said, how do they all live together on this place? I mean, they said it's a mostly peaceful place to be. It's segmented into providences. Each race has its own space, and the pink people have a section on Mars about the size of North America. And they explained that Mars is mostly land. Our planet is mostly water. So, and Mars, they said, is like pretty much twice the size, give or take, of Earth. So you have all this, and the water, there's lots of water underneath the ground, but not on top of the ground. So they pull it up when needed, but they've got all this land. So everybody's got all this space to be. It said Mars is considered free space as a planet. It is not owned or governed by one race. It has many races there, and they have a team from each race to govern the power and the land. So basic stuff. And they have they have had some wars, but space is not limited, so there's no real big desire to go and conquer somebody else and take more land because everybody has a lot. And they're not stuck there. It's just certain. They probably have all these different races on other planets too. So for Mars, this is the section where they decided to have their community. Intergalactic rules say that certain predators cannot settle there. Reptilians got kicked out a long time ago in a combined effort. And they took, I don't know if I just can't even accept that they own Earth. I mean, I don't think that's quite correct. I did get a little more information from God in the last meditation because I was upset about that and I wanted to go talk to him about it. So I'll tell you that in a minute. But they basically, the reptilians got kicked out. They went to Earth when the human population was very low, and allowed it to grow for their own interests. Left it alone, didn't do anything about that because they were going to go ahead and steal and pillage and kill things. They have been monitored by this galactic or interplanetary council for a long time. But it's limited. So it's basically big things, don't have a nuclear war and blow up the entire planet and throw everything out of orbit. And universal rules apply, like free will and things like that. And here's the catch. Here's the catch, and we've heard this before. Interplanetary, whatever, galactic council, whatever it is, does not go in and interfere because they don't think something's right. If the people of the planet are mostly in agreement with what's going on, that's free will. And that is why everybody's got to get on board and cast it out and say no to all this, oh, but I like this band. Well, then, I'm sorry. But, really could have to move in a higher vibrational direction and stop allowing ourselves to be cattle, So if the humans agree to the terms they have to allow certain practices, they do not interfere. Got a little more on that later. But basically, the ICP, Interplanetary Council, make sure that they don't blow up the planet and disrupt the orbits and do a lot of things that are going to affect other planets and the natural order of things. There are, however, special teams of alien races helping the humans to rise up and be free. That is true. Mars is twice the size of Earth. Right. Okay, so now we're on to meditation 3. For this one, I went to see God because I was upset about the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm just going to God. I'm just going to ask him because it can't be true. So I said, who primarily... Oh, well, I got to tell you what it looks like when I go see God. This is really awesome. So I go and I meet Gabriel on the 6th level of heaven in a field. I said I want to go see God. And so what we're doing is we're going to the true dimension, the 7th level of heaven, the true source. And so I take his hand and we start walking down this very rural path. And pretty soon you come to this kind of really golden, shimmery, moving wall of stuff. And then you walk through it and you're on the 7th level. It's like a veil. And then I walked down these steps to this beautiful, like, Grecian courtyard with all these plants. And it's basically the Garden of Eden. And so then I walked through this, like, trellis area that's got these, like, purple hibiscus hanging over it. And then it's like, God, are you there? And so then it comes out. And there's, like, a chair or a table and 2 chairs in front of this beautiful fountain. And we sit down. And I started asking him questions immediately. I said, who primarily populated the earth? Now, this does not mean who created humans, who created everything. He did. We lived in other places. We are called human right here, right now. That's what people have called us. Okay? But there are, from what I've seen, I'm sure there's lots of different other races that I am not aware of, but there's a lot of human-like aliens. He said primarily Pleiadians and Arcturians. Pleiadians and Arcturians, primarily. I said, why are we smaller than them and look different? He said, it's the elements. So primarily they came and, had a settlement here a long time ago, along with others. But primarily, for the majority, long time ago, it was the Pleiadians and the Arcturians. And because we've lived here for a long time on Earth, the elements here make us look different. And over time, exposure to gravity, sun, pressure, different foods, in different locations on the Earth, you adapt, and there's evolution of the species, and you end up looking different. So you've got people that live out in the middle of the desert who have darker skin, and you got people that live up in the snow, and they ended up having lighter skin, and that just kind of happened that way. I said, so interbreeding of the Pleiadians and the Arcturians in their own home planet. Oh, no. This is what he said. This is cool. There is interbreeding, and this goes on a lot of the planets. Interbreeding between species of Pleiadians and Arcturians in their own home planets created different looking races. And then, so the Pleiadians, it's not just like a planet. Okay, it's like an area. The Pleiades or something. And then, so for a long time, what did I say? Okay, so interbreeding of Pleiadians and Arcturians on their own planets created different looking races. And then those races came from different planets to colonize the Earth. And that's what happened. So when you say the Pleiadians and the Arcturians, is if you were to look at a Pleiadian, you look at an Arcturian and say, well, we don't look like that. It's like, in their area, this was going on. And so you've got different planets with all kinds of stuff going on. And so then you end up with like Asian looking people and black people and white people. And then that changes over time because of the amount of sun and elements that you're exposed to. And that's where we are now. Okay. So, the way a populace looks depends on the elements and the conditions it adapts to over time. And then I was just like, so many questions, and he just looked at me and said, there's many stories to be told about the tribes of Earth. And so I was kind of like, okay. Kind of basically telling me, you don't have to know everything right now. Because I always want to know everything right now and I get all off track, all right. So I said, do the reptilians really own Earth? And I was upset about this. Okay. He said they've been there for thousands of years in smaller numbers. And he said, they don't necessarily own the earth. It's not like that is mine. They have taken the earth. So what they have done, they have infiltrated societies over time, infiltrated minds to defy logic, he said. They have infiltrated the minds to defy logic. So they are working in spirit form and in physical form. Do you remember how the Pleiadian dude found me? There are some walking among us in human suits. Didn't want to hear that. Suspected that, didn't want to hear it. This is good, though. This is positive. So there is only a 20% reptilian presence. So those who walk around in human suits, who are actually here on the planet, or who have infiltrated completely the minds of human beings, 20%. The rest, 80% humans. From various origins. I said, so then there's less than 20%. Oh, he said that less than 20% actual aliens walking around in human suits, but it's, 20% plus them, plus the actual, Godzilla looking things that are here, 20%. He contradicted what I originally thought about the Greys, that they must have been controlled by the R's, but they are not. The R's, I call them the R's, the Reptilian Army. They work for the whites, which are kind of intermingled with their species. I don't know if the whites created the Greys as like minions. But the whites look like the Greys, but they're very tall, very long, skinny arms, very long, skinny legs, like very tall. I think they're the movers and shakers. They're the decision makers. The Greys are very emotionless. Like what I got from them is they're like worker bees. Okay. They're like parasites. They need something from us. DNA, samples, whatever. And then the whites tell them what to do. And here's what got me. Okay, they pay, God told me this, all right? The Greys and the whites together pay a toll to the human beings to remain, not the reptilians, to human beings. Well, they might be infiltrated by the reptilians. It gets kind of there's a gray area there. But, and you know who I'm talking about. It's probably the hierarchy, whatever, deep state. They pay a toll to remain on this planet and to harvest what they need. So, when we hear stories about, well, when humanity finds out what's really going on, 80% will be in the hospital. That's probably part of it. I mean, I was thinking long ago, it was like, well, what could they actually tell them besides, this terrible stuff we all know about? I don't like to mention it. I'm starting to think that, the humans, if the rulers are taking money from the bad guys to let them feed off of us, that would be one of the bad things that people probably could not handle and feel very lost in. All right, so I said, will humans take back control of the planet? He said they will in time. They have to listen to their inner voice, which is me. So we go about our lives all the time. And you get your instinct, right? You get that instinct, your first thought. And you don't listen to it because of programming. Oh, well, that's not nice. I shouldn't think that. That guy's probably not a snake. Then 6 months later, you find out he's a snake, and you should have listened in the beginning. Well, I probably shouldn't eat that whatever burger because it doesn't look very healthy and it's not very appetizing. But the media says that I should, so I will, and then you end up with some weird kind of new disease or deformity. Listen to your instincts, because the way it's set up is that we're all God. He's in there. He's not far away. He is not out from some other dimension saying, "Oh, that's right, you're Jennifer." No, he's with you the whole time. There's your guidance. Listen to it. And this is what you should think. And next, whenever you get a thought, try to evaluate where that came from. You can usually trace a thought back to its origin. Like, well, this certain type of people is this way. You could probably trace that back to a movie, a person when you're growing up, a media story, something. And if that didn't come from instinct, it's probably wrong. So I asked this about Mars. I said, is Mars more peaceful planet? He says Mars is. It doesn't have the harsh what the hell? Doesn't have the harsh wool or conquering breed. So most of the alien races that live on Mars, probably live lots of other places, are more peaceful and allowed to stay there, are more peaceful. They don't have the conquering breeds like the reptilians and the grays and all that stuff. So can you imagine what our planet would be like if we didn't? If they were all cast out? You're always going to have emotions. You're going to have people to get mad and sad and angry and that. But how many wars would we really have if it was just people living and loving and learning and working things out? And that's what we need to get rid of. That's what they don't want you to know. So I asked if, so they have a collective understanding on Mars in between all of the settlements that is agreed upon by the settlements, and it's a basic set of rules. And I asked, do the settlements intermingle and breed? And he said they do. Not all, because he said it's like cats and dogs with some. So basically the ones that have the right parts and are pretty close, like humanoid looking, can. There are some that probably I haven't seen yet because they probably didn't want to freak me out, that probably can't breed with like someone like me. Yeah. So if they're the right parts and DNA and things like that, to produce, it's like, your dog's not going to breed with your cat. It's not going to work out. Mars has a collective responsibility for peace and prosperity of their planet, and they're completely fine with it. And then I was going to go, and he stopped me and said, "You will be free." And I don't know if I want to give this. It's a date. But in August, your champion will return. And I'm like, I want to tell everybody in the entire world that, but I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. And he wants people. He says, call me into action. He says, and he will help with every step of the way. So that's, it didn't make sense to me because for so long, all of a sudden, this reemergence of spirituality and this pray, and even on the posts, posts I'm talking about asking us to pray, in the military all of a sudden, and the president and everybody else, pray, 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 pray. Like, really? Interesting. Because for so long, we couldn't do that in the schools and it was being diminished and all this stuff. They know. So what we have to do, listen to that. We got to get back to God. We got to listen to the inner voice. The universe is a very diverse, very busy place. The whole concept of there's no life on other planets. How restricting. I mean, how stupid. That's like being in a ship out in the middle of the ocean and thinking there's nothing else because you can't see it. Now they're trying to blow all these rowboats by us, and oh my God, look. And it's like everybody pretty much knows it. Everybody who has a rational mind would say, well, let's see. We're like a speck or one drop in a giant ocean, which is the universe, and then there's different dimensions, multiverse. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, why would there only be us on this rock? It's never made sense to me. I've never really researched it, never really got into that. I was more into the, angels and paranormal and all that, life after death, spirituality, but it's really interesting, and it just kind of, the more I'm educated about it, through the archangels and stuff, the more comfortable I feel. And it's just starting to make sense. It's just really starting to make sense because why would that information be suppressed? Because they are profiting off of it. They don't want us to know what they're doing, that they're sucking the life out of our planet and taking our resources and going off to other planets and selling it. They're allowing predators to feed on us. So, but, even though we have to find out about the bad stuff, there's always more good. And they're trying to make us all believe that, oh my God, yes, they own the world. They've taken over the world. 80-20. 80-20. We're more powerful, and all we have to do is collectively decide that we're not taking this anymore. And the good guys that are out there can come in and help. God told me himself, call me into action. Everybody just asks me to do it. I will move mountains. I will make it happen. And so I am hopeful. And when you sit with God and he tells you, you will be free and your champion will return in August. I mean, it don't get better than that. I don't know. I don't tell you. I'm going to believe it. If I'm wrong, whatever. But I just know it. You know what? You know it too. You know it. Because think about it. If everybody they probably really know everything inside already. And if they were to embrace it, they wouldn't fall for things. And let me tell you why. Because there's people that have been told, well, don't smoke or you're going to die of cancer. Well, they're over there smoking in the corner with their girlfriends, oh, well, they don't really believe that because not everybody does. Well, don't eat meat on Friday or you're going to go to hell. They're over there eating meat on, they know it's not true. See, somewhere inside you, it's not true. And so we just have to collectively, and, everybody listening right now is probably like, yeah, I'm there. I'm doing it. It's just going to take a little time for everybody else to start doing it too. And it just, but I feel it. I just feel it happening, so I'm going to stay positive. I think this information is awesome. I think this is why the last president wanted us to go to Mars. It's going to be an interesting ride. It really is. And so I got to get going. It's Friday night. Thank you all for joining me. If you thought this was interesting, please share it with your friends. Spread it around. If you would like a reading with me, you can go to jenniferfallah.com. I'm not good at this. Dink. There it is. And you can get a reading with me. You can get a healing. You can take some of my classes. I've got my Fallawsophy shows up there, and I've got my Level of Heaven series. It was the exploration of the level of heaven through interdimensional meditation, just like I brought this information to you. Did that a few years ago. There's a lot of stuff over there. If you'd like a reading with me, I do have some time open next week. And I do have a class coming up. If you're watching this, 3 months from now, you're going to miss it. But it is the viewing room. Interdimensional Meditation, Class 5, the viewing room. And I teach you guys how to do this. And that would be super cool if we get a bunch of group of people who could do this, because then I can ask you guys to do it for me. But thank you all for joining me. I hope you all have a great weekend. And send me your suggestions, places you'd like me to go, things you'd like me to see. I mean, Mars alone, I could go for the rest of my life. It's like, tell me what's on the face of the planet, Earth. I mean, I went to 3 places, But any other suggestions you have, you can go to jenniferfallah.com. You can send me an email, and I will put it in my Fallawsophy ideas file. All right. Let me see if there's anything in chat. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, everybody. Everybody's just saying thanks. Lots of chat. Lots of chat. All right. Thank you, guys. I love you guys. I'm too tired for that. Okay? It's Friday at like 5:20, and I want to go. It's time for the weekend. But I love you all. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Good night.